First, just very thankful to be here, to be in this tournament, and excited about the opportunity. I never take for granted playing in this tournament and qualifying for it. And I have a lot of respect for Kevin, Coach Keats, and what they've done the last couple of years with the UNC Wilmington program. They've really built a heck of a program, a heck of a team. And I understand in these games you're going to have to, everybody's capable, and you're going to have to be as ready as you can. They're so quick. They play a fast pace. They pressure the ball. They're good off the ball screen. So they test you in a lot of ways. And we've tried to prepare to the best of our abilities to be ready for this. But again, thankful to be here, of course, and excited about the opportunity in front of us.
Front row on our far right.
Go ahead,
Doug Gowdy from the Roanoke Times. I think it's been 18 or 19 days since Isaiah had the strep throat. Is that kind of mystifying? It's gone through the team, and he still has it, and I guess the other guys are okay.
Well, I don't know if Isaiah was up here. I don't know if you asked him. I'm sure you did. We've held him all week. He hasn't practiced, and we're hopeful we're going to, I guess, test him, or he's going to, go through our 40 minutes out on the court and see how he responds, and then kind of make it a game time decision. Hopefully he'll be able to play in spots. He says he's feeling better, but yeah, he's lost some weight, and he's such a warrior. He's given us whatever he can give us in those games that since he's been sick. And I think it's just a nasty virus that's gone through him. He's been tested a couple times for mono, and both times it's come back negative, which is good. And so we're just trying to be as smart as we can. And obviously he's the heart and soul of this team in many ways, but we'll see where it goes after today.
We have one right next to that question, then we'll come across the aisle.
Yeah, Andrew Ranspacker, Daily Progress. Tony, along those same lines, with the matchup with Kaycock and what he can do, and him being his quickness, and he's based on it seems like ideal for somebody like Isaiah. The backup plans, and is this a time where maybe Mamadi could have a factor? How much can Jack guard him? How do you like that matchup if you don't have a full Isaiah Wilkins?
Well, my standard line, we'll need them all, right? And that's not just a standard line, we will. That stat is still remarkable, what he's done. He's shooting 79.9%, and I think it's because the guards are so good, and he rolls. He's got good hands. He can do stuff. But yeah, we'll need to be sharp on him. And of course, there's guys Jack and Mamadi and Jared, and hopefully Isaiah, and handling that. But he is quick. He's strong. He's explosive. So they'll all be getting chances with him, and he does a real good job on the ball screens and rolling and finding the ball after that, and they find him.
Stay on the front row on this side.
Hey, Tony, Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch. 2 parts on their defense. When you look at the press, how important is London and his experience in going against that? And then what do you see from them when they do settle, if they do settle into a half-court defense?
Sure.
What do they do there?
Yeah, they do a good job. I mean, they have a few different kinds of presses. They can run and jump. They can make it hard to get it in bounds. They can trap you and just try to disrupt you with their quickness. So they do a good job of that, and they turn that into offense. And then in the half court, they're real pesky. They can get in passing lanes. They can switch on-ball, off-ball screens, and they just make you be real sure with the ball and handle it and work to get good shots. And again, they use their speed and their quickness to be disruptive.
Right next to that.
Tony Mike Savettis from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. 48 times since 1985, a 12 seed has upset a 5 seed. What do you think? Is it just something about those teams, those matchups, or is it an anomaly? And have you thought about that? Or talked to the team about, like, hey, because you guys have been 1 and 2 seeds the last couple of years, but this is a little precarious situation.
Since what year?
Since 85, I believe.
45 times?
48 times.
48.
148 games.
It should be 49 because in 1991, Wisconsin Green Bay was a 12 seed, and they're playing Michigan State. And this guy, he was an okay player named Steve Smith. I don't know. He is patented hesitation move at the top of the key, and my best friend Ben Johnson is draped all over him, and at the buzzer, swish, and they beat us. I think it was a 5-12 game. We were the 12, and then we would have played Larry Johnson UNLV had we won. So, but listen, the way college basketball is now, and we always talk about the parity every year. I think that shrinks. You've got to be ready, and I think every year we've played, it is just, we were going to be the first 1 seed to get upset. And I was informed by our media that Clark Kellogg said, you know, right away, that market, you know, that's there. It's reality when you're playing this tournament. It really is, and I don't know if there's anything with that number. You're seeing 2 15s, you know, 4 13s. They're all there, and maybe the 5-12 one is percentage-wise more. I just think it's such an even deal. And again, in this game with UNC Wilmington, that, you know, there's obviously a contrast of styles, but look what they did to Duke last year, and a number of their players are returning. So, as I said, certainly respect them and know we'll have to play. That's reality. If you don't play well, you won't advance, and you have to play not perfect, but you got to play well.
We'll go back to our right, and then we have one in the second row over
Tony,
here.
if I'm not mistaken, Mike Scott, well, I know
Yeah,
he played
played
for Kevin. Was that after you got the job, and did you know Kevin before that? Did you have much dealing with him then?
Not so much before. He was at Hargrave. He did a really good job there, and then he was with Coach Patino at Louisville. But when Mike was with us, Kevin would sometimes come up, and you know, you'd obviously recruit his program, and he was always terrific in terms of just support whatever we needed. If it was talking to Mike, and obviously was so proud of the success that Mike had in his college career, and then in the NBA. But that was more when I got there. It's been 8 years, Doug. I've been at Virginia, and I think, you know, it was in those early years. And I remember when I was starting Will Sherrill, a walk-on over Mike Scott, we had to get some things squared away, and Kevin was great. He said, "You just keep pushing him. I'll help you any way I can." But he was good.
Second row on our left.
Tony, Matt Marshall for the Orlando Sentinel. Along the lines of what you were talking about earlier, being like a 5 or 6 seed rather than being a 1 or 2 seed, is it different? Do you come in with a different approach this week with the team and how you handle things when you're kind of more in the middle of the pack when it comes to seeding?
I mean, we're a different team this year. We have less experience. We have guys that have great experience. London's going into his 4th tournament, and other guys that have played in this, but we're just a different team. Our approach is the same in how we try to prepare. I mean, there's little adjustments, but you know, there is a newness for some of the first-year guys that we have, or guys that haven't played, and maybe slightly, but not a lot. I mean, again, it always comes down to there's so much. It's such a great opportunity. You walk in, they'll announce your name when you walk on the court. Stay at a nice hotel, but it still comes when that ball's tipped, who can lock in, who can execute, who can win the battle of the possessions and do the things you do. And I think that's what you got to get to, and not get caught up as much in the outside stuff, or say, okay, now we got to be different because we're there. We have to address how different and good UNC Wilmington is, but I don't think there has to be constants in your approach.
Front row, and then if you could hand it right behind you.
This might be first time maybe all season or in a while where maybe you're the taller, the bigger team in this kind of matchup. Do you try to exploit that? I know that you've talked all year that you guys aren't really wired to go inside and things like that, but do you try to do that maybe a little more tomorrow considering the matchup?
I think you see what the game brings. You try your hardest to, you know, obviously, as we, you know, be as good as you can defensively, rebound, and then offensively, if there's opportunities, you always try to offensive rebound, but they do a good job with that, and if there are opportunities, absolutely, you will. But again, it doesn't change your whole game plan, and they're disruptive. They use their smaller guys to kind of get you a little frantic, and you're going to have your composure with it. And yeah, if we have some opportunities, hopefully that size will show.
Second row.
Tony, David Teal from Newport News. It was a 5-12 game in Tucson.
Tucson, yes.
Yep, and you would have played Utah.
And I had a bad second half.
Oh, did you
I
really?
started out, I had to hit a bunch of threes the second half. It was bad. I had a lot of assists, but my father let me know about that many times. You know, son, if you played a little bit in the second half, we would have advanced, but you let me down, so.
Different team, but do you remind your guys of Wilmington taking Duke to the finish line last year on this stage?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, with social media with you guys, I think they're aware of that. They remember it. But what I told them, you know, in our preparation, I said, you know, in watching some of the part of that game and remembering it and then watching it, the guys that are returning, boy, some of the creative shots they made, how they bounced up and made shots and how they went at it and they weren't afraid of the moment at all. Not that I would expect them to. I said, you watch them against teams in their league, and you have a feel for that, and then you see them against guys that we've gone against, some of the long, athletic guys, and they went at them, and I said that even opened my eyes more and gained my respect more for the stuff they could do, and I certainly shared that with our guys, how capable they are and how much of a veteran team they are.
In that regard, did you take a long, hard look at their tape from Clemson this year?
Well, yeah, certainly we watched that. You saw that. Some of that stuff's early, some of it's last year, but you look at recent stuff, and you're always looking at pieces of different games throughout. But Coach Soderberg is doing the scout. Everybody else has got their pieces. We're doing it. We're watching a lot of games, but you watch so many games. And Clemson was one of them, of course, because we were familiar. And again, seeing those guys make those plays and the things they could do against teams that we're not similar to Duke or Clemson, but at least you have in your mind's eye a feel for what that's like.
Back to the front row.
Speaking of
Is there a limit on questions one guy can ask or not here?
We're almost done.
Okay, I just was wondering. All right.
Speaking of social media, you may be aware that Kyle Guy was in something of a flap on social media, and a lot of people praised him for his response. Are you aware of that at all?
I wasn't until I did the radio show with Dave, and he brought my attention to it. I'm not as familiar with that. And it's funny, I just asked Kyle, we were getting on the airplane, and I said, hey, I was on my radio show. I go, what happened? What was going on? And we talked about it. That stuff, you could catch me. I said it on my radio show. I've been in games where we're getting blasted, and I might look at my staff and just say, look at that guy's hairdo over there. Look at I might make some crack, and we might giggle or laugh or who knows what. Just sometimes there's a lightness in a moment. I have no problem with that. I didn't see it. I don't really care about it. If I thought it was disrespectful, if I thought a guy was being selfish or wasn't working hard or wasn't a competitor, so be it. But I know this team. I said it before. We've lost together and we've won together, and they've stayed true to that. And so much stuff is people handle different things different ways with their facial expressions. But I just kind of was filled in a little bit, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And I trust Kyle with that, without a doubt. I trust all my guys.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yep.
Good luck tomorrow.